look, they're up in the sky. What the fuck is this? See them up there? They're up in the sky. They're teleporting way above over there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Maybe it's just me.
Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Dream Shipwrecked, and I bet you're wondering, why are we playing this janky ass old SOCOM 1 game from the PS1? Well, we're not. As you might guess by my frantically moving around and trying to unsuccessfully change magazines, we are actually playing a VR game called Onward that just released a day or so ago. So, what's special about this that's, different from all of the many other shooters that we have seen? For example, the Let's Play I just did of horseshoes, hot dogs, and hand grenades. Well, for one, you can see we are physically moving around as I try to shoot something in space that doesn't actually exist. Now, as in the other games, I've made a big point about how teleportation is more common with these kinds of games because it's a lot easier to do without making people sick. Well, this game actually uses the trackpad of the offhand to move around while you're playing, and it actually works pretty well. It's pretty surprising. You can, go quickly by hitting hard. You can gently move your finger along it to sort of just inch along, or you can still actually move yourself around inside the space physically, like you can do with all the other games. So that's one cool thing. As you might guess, this is actually a team-based game. You can think of it sort of like an Arma kind of style thing, where it's a team versus team, in this case 4 versus 4, although they're hoping to expand it to 12 versus 12. God bless their hearts. And you can play, these. It's not really deathmatch. There's an objective that you can capture, which we'll get into later. But if you die for good. You die until the round is over, which can take up to 8 minutes. So, what are we going to do about that? I mean, we have these guns, and we can sneak around, and how is it different from any other shooter? Well, for one, obviously it's a VR shooter, which means we can peek, we can move, we can do all these kinds of crazy things, which are tracked inside the game. Like, if I were to take my hand and wave it around, then the other people will be able to see it. Which is why I say bless your hearts for your 12v12 games, because a lot of developers can't even handle 12v12 for a normal game. God knows Battlefield catches on fire every 3 weeks. So, I'm going to be interested to see how the latency works out on that. But that's another news. Let's run through the gear that you have to play with. For one, you have a gun. Of course, this is a military shooter. You kind of need your guns. What you can see me now desperately trying to get out is my map. The map is a pain in the ass to get out, but it's also very important. You get it out by reaching to an arbitrary point in the center of your back, pressing a button, and then pulling it out. You need this in order to find the objective, find your teammates, and also find the code that you have to plug into your keypad in order to actually capture the objective. I'll do that a little bit later in the game to demonstrate, which is totally on purpose, and I didn't happen to do it by accident to win a game. I'm just that great of an LPer, I swear. So, as you can see right now, a lot of this game is just slowly moving around, trying to not get shot, and also shooting someone else. It's a lot like Arma. Very slow, very methodical, kind of boring sometimes, but at least the novelty of the movement and the play is, interesting to play. As I was saying, the gear. So we have a gun, which we have a wide variety of guns that are mostly all some sort of regular assault rifle, sniper rifle, or a light machine gun. The most common is going to be your assault rifle, which I don't care, you military nerds, I am going to use that term, which is, your AK-47s, your M4s, whatever you have available. They also can be fitted with scopes or stocks or anything like that. The way that you reload them varies. Most of them you will hold down on the right trackpad down and use your other hand to physically remove the magazine. Put it into your pack chest thing, harness, I think that's the word for it, and then pull out a new magazine. Or you can drop it on the ground. For some reason, the devs stressed that you could recover magazines and do stuff like that. I assume that means that you have a limited number, but I have yet to actually burn through all of my ammo, so I have no idea if that's actually true. And then you have to, if you completely go out, then you have to go on the side, you have to cock it back, and all that good stuff. So it's fairly good in that sense. Light machine guns, you have to actually open the top, pull the ammo over onto the actual belt, close it, rack it, fun stuff like that. And the sniper rifle, I believe, are single shot, I want to say, so you have to, shoot that way. I haven't actually not used a sniper rifle, so I would not really know. Go figure. We also have a radio, which you will see me grabbing at my shoulder, like right there. That is actually, the game works in two different ways. And it has an open mic all the time, which is incidentally why my mic sounds much better than normal for these games. It's because I'm doing post-commentary. Proxy chat is always on. No matter what, friendly or foe, you can always hear the enemy team talking or your friends around you, which makes for some pretty cool things. You can hear people screaming to their buddies to back them up as your friends are pinning them down, and as you sneak around the corner to fill their bodies with lead. It's a beautiful thing. The other option is radio chat, which will go out to everyone on your team. This is accomplished by grabbing at your shoulder with the trigger, and that will click on your radio, you talk, and you click off the radio. Excuse me for the intermittent pauses in my speech. I have a bit of a cough, and I'm trying not to make that affect too much. The radio, I just got shot at there, so I'm trying to heal myself by grabbing that syringe, but unfortunately, getting things out that aren't your pistol or your main weapon is janky as shit. So, luckily that was just suppression. The radio will go out to just your teammates. Now, here's the cool thing about this. Most games will give you a tutorial. This has a video tutorial, which I probably should have watched before playing for the first time, but chose not to because I'm an idiot. I got this, right? Yeah, totally, whatever. I'm so cool. Anyways, I learned how to play with the radio by watching someone else on my team. I watched him physically put his hand on his shoulder and speak into the radio, and I learned how to do things by watching him, which you would never have seen in a regular non-VR game. I thought that was incredibly interesting and a testament to what can be accomplished with these kinds of games in a pursuit of gunning down your fellow man. Unfortunately, what you're seeing right here is the game being janky. The gun did not want to fire through over the rock because technically it was inside the rock. It's pretty rough still. Other equipment that we have a sidearm, which we can pull out at any time by putting away our main rifle, and then pulling out our sidearm on our side. You have an option of either having your sidearm on your belt or slung across your chest. Either one works. You might be able to see it as I look down. You can't there, but whatever. You did see my grenade, which I have one of, and you can choose what kind of grenade you want to have, and a syringe, which is going to be what you use, kind of like the syringes or the defibrillators that you use in Battlefield, where if you find someone bleeding out, you can quickly run over and stab them with it and get them back to full health. Theoretically, you can do it to yourself as well, if you get just a little bit hurt, but I honestly haven't had a situation yet where I was just a little bit hurt. It's either usually alive or dead. So, I don't really know. Surprisingly, you do have a knife that you can use as well. if you go to where your radio is on your shoulder and instead push the grip button instead of the trigger, then you will pull out a knife that you can stab people with. You do actually have to hold down the trigger to stab. That's to prevent you from accidentally cutting your own throat when you're moving around, which I have heard of people actually doing by accident. Why is there a knife? I guess because you don't really have a melee option if you run out of ammo, which theoretically you could do. In reality, probably just a humiliation thing. So, nice to have those kinds of things. So, the game, as you can see, is, a lot like Arma, sneaking around, trying to peek over cover, trying not to get shot. Like I just did, just then. Once you go down, you start bleeding out. If anyone can get to you and save you, then you'll be healed. But more likely than not, you're just going to go down and die. When you die, you get kicked back to a spawn room, where you can watch the progress of your teammates and complain to anyone else who has died in the process. So, I looked up to the sky because when you die, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go into the light. This is a different match where we are actually on the attack. I believe this is going to be one of the ones where we end up capturing, but I'm not positive. What is the negatives of the game? Well, like I said before, it's still very rough. You don't really have a whole lot going on in terms of, for one, optimization. You can see it chugging right there. For two, we have very janky controls in terms of getting stuff out. The map, as I said before, is very important in orientating yourself and finding out where your objective is, seeing where your teammate is. And it's something, if you're doing the objective, where you have to get a code, memorize it, and then plug it into your keypad, can be something you need to get out in a firefight. But actually taking it out is a pain in the ass. I've accomplished this mostly by, if you look at when I pull it out, my finger turns into a laser for pointing. I just put my controller behind my back and then wave my hand around pressing the button until I see the laser pointer come out. That's not really great game design. I think it could be something that you either keep in your harness or it has a dedicated button. A lot of the touchpad buttons are not being used for anything on the right controller, or even just the left controller. We have a few things we could be using there. So maybe dedicate something to that. As for the weapons, like I said before, the rocks can be a little bit janky in terms of where you're shooting. Buildings aren't so bad, but it's nothing too special about that. They're pretty easy to make. So here you're going to see me. I need to get the code. I need to memorize that code, and then I'll plug it into the keypad, which is actually kind of hard to do because you end up hitting multiple buttons at once quite a bit. But once I plug it in, I will actually win the round for the game. It's not required for you to camp and shoot all the enemies. Thank Christ for that, because when you die early, the round goes on for long enough as it is. For the guns, they are somewhat unreliable about unloading and reloading. First, taking out the magazine doesn't always work how it should. Second, the actual getting it out of your harness is also sometimes difficult. Getting a syringe out without pulling out a magazine is goddamn impossible. I have yet to successfully do that, especially when I actually need one. So, again, that could probably be relocated. I know that there's a limit, I guess you could say, to what you can do because you have so many things to put in your harness. But, I mean, your left hip is not being used. Your, other shoulder, a lot of places you can use. I mean, look at horseshoes, hand grenades, and hot dogs. I got that mixed up, but who cares? You have, 6 slots and 2 things. They're very well defined. It's easy to isolate one and pull something out. Something similar could be done for this. at least like maybe putting an outline around the thing when you're trying to use it. Right now it just vibrates, which is nice when you're trying to reach for something and you're not looking, but I can be looking down at my vest and frantically grabbing at my chest like I'm trying to feel myself up in a subway or something, and I can just not get it. So something like an outline would be very helpful. And as the time goes along, these things will get better. The tutorial that they have on right now is very basic. It teaches you the very, movement and how to get your map out, how you get guns out, but how to use night vision. I didn't know that until I go, oh wait, night vision is on my helmet. So I reach up into my forehead, I press my controller, and I pull it down, and what do you know? Night vision's enabled. I actually cut out a few videos I was playing where I was wandering around in the complete darkness, even though I had night vision, just because I didn't know how to turn the goddamn thing on. So, that's that. This is also like, I would say Armageddon, but I would probably say Red Orchestra more likely, because that's a lot worse about trying to find the uniform differences. If you forget what team you're on, it can be pretty deadly. Because, as you'll see in a second, I sometimes forget. Like, right now I'm on the Volks team, which means we're in the all-black uniform. The other team, who I can't remember, some Marines or whatever, is in your standard camouflage. So if you're looking closely on the HD video, those guys are in camouflage. They're on the other team, and I'm calling to my friends, radioing them to ask if I see them. Nope, they kill me. R.I.P. me. Stupidity is pretty bad. So, night vision, on. You can see the motion that I did there, so it's something, it's a natural motion if you figure it out eventually, but the first step is figuring it out. Night vision games are a little bit different because, you don't really obviously see very well, but even in the day, things don't really stand out. The one biggest thing that changes is that you can't really use your holographic sights anymore. There's a bug. I don't know why Casper the Ghost decided to join us. I guess he wanted to serve his country and make the world a safer place for all the ghosts and girls out there. But I appreciate his military service. God bless him, everyone. Apparently he even uses cover, even though he's a ghost and therefore can't die. You can see me accidentally pulling out a grenade because I went for my gun blindly and it fucked up. Again, some highlights or a bit more tactile reinforcement would be very nice. So, the games are very slow, but it's pretty fun. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who is into this kind of thing. I would warn about going into enclosed spaces. The locomotion is pretty good. Also, you tend to light up rocks sometimes. It just happens. The locomotion is pretty good, but when you go inside, small buildings, the fast motion, because when you're outside, you don't really realize how fast you're going. But when you go inside and you see the walls speeding past you, it can be a bit stomach queasiness inducing. So, pro tip from Dream Shipwrecked. Cover and all that. It's the basic thing. We've all played this game before. The only difference is that you are now, using a VR headset rather than a keyboard and controls. So that's just a first look. I am greatly looking forward to seeing what comes out of this. There's a lot of stuff that's in development. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be smoothed out. But overall, I am pretty impressed. I'd say that this is definitely one of the more feature-complete VR games. Even I'd say it's an actual, game. It's not just a tech demo like so many other ones. It's a fully fledged game. And I think the developer should be proud of that. So I am going to sit here for about 3 minutes and basically jerk off in the corner while I try to get the map out. No, not my gun. Come on, put away the gun. I mean, yeah, take out the gun and shoot yourself in the head because you can't pull out the goddamn map, but whatever. The game is great. I like it. It's very slow, and unfortunately, the same system that makes you, very hesitant to go outside and makes it all tense also makes the maps very boring if you happen to get unlucky and get sniped in the first few minutes. But same thing as Counter-Strike, same thing as Arma. It's all in good fun. So I think we'll leave it there. This has been Dream Shipwrecked, and I will see you next time.